Pray to go. Stand still and let God move. Standing still is hard to do. When you feel you have reached the end, He'll make a way for you. Stand still and let God move. When the enemy surrounds you and your walls are closing in, when the tide is swiftly rising and you wonder where He's been, friend, there's never been a moment that His arms weren't reaching out. You can rest assured and you can be secure. God is moving right now. Stand still and let God move. Standing still is hard to do. When you feel you have reached the end, He'll make a way for you. Stand still and let God move. When you feel you have reached the end, He'll make a way for you. Stand still and let God move. The answers will come, but only in His time. Stand still and let God move. Stand still and let God
I left my family, the love I had known. I couldn't believe just how calloused I'd grown, till I woke up one morning in cold, freezing rain and said, I'll go back where I caused so much pain. Oh, just in sight of the place where the lane meets the road, the Father was waiting to carry my load. His big arms were open to draw me to Him. Forgiven, forgiven, forgiven again.
If you've broken the trust and betrayed your best friend, if you're lost and confused, wondering where it will end, there's a way you can know that wherever you've been, you can make your way home and be forgiven again.
Oh, just in sight of the place where the lane meets the arms are longing to draw you to Him. Forgiven, forgiven, forgiven again. His big arms are longing to draw you to Him. I'm forgiven. I'm forgiven. I'm forgiven. I'm forgiven. Forgiven.
Turn your Bibles, if you would, to the Gospel of Luke this morning. I'm going to preach, and I asked the men to sing that song for a reason. How many sermons have you heard on the prodigal son? You have any idea? I know at least that I have preached 5 different messages from the prodigal son. A lot of times we'll preach the customs of that day and time when the young man come and ask for his inheritance. A lot of times we preach the fact that how undignified that it was for an old Jewish father to take off running because he wore a long robe. Not very dignified. We've talked about a lot of things. We've preached, don't sell the farm. I mean, so many messages could be preached here. And they have been over the years. This week, it has been different for me in this message, and there's some that's not here this morning that I wish would have been, but the Lord didn't change the message. I want to talk this morning just basically in everyday terms of living and what happened with this young man. In chapter 15, the Gospel of Luke, let's begin in verse 11, and we'll just read a few verses. I'm not going to read the whole story because you all know what happens. In verse 11, and he said, a certain man had 2 sons. And the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of goods that falleth to me. And he divided unto him his living. I could talk here a while on the fact that the father gave him his portion of goods, but he didn't have to. But I'm not going to talk about that today. There's a lot of tradition and culture we could preach. Said, and the younger of them said to his father, give me the portion of goods which fall to me. And he divided unto him living. And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together and took his journey into a far country, and there wasted his substance with riotous living. I'm going to stop reading right there today. 4 things I want to call to your attention today about this young Jewish boy. Number 1, I want to talk about being at home. Number 2, I want to show you that he got sick of home. Number 3, I want to talk about he became homesick. And number 4, I would like to talk for a little while about home again. Home again. The home is such an important thing in this world. How important is it, Brother Kenny? Well, it's so important that God established the home before He established anything else. God created a union between a man and a woman to form a home before He done anything else. Before the church was established, before the plan of salvation was complete. So therefore, if the home was such a priority on God's agenda, it shows me that the home must be one, if not the most important thing in this world. There was an old song many years ago that was written, and it expresses in this song, be it ever so humble, there's no place like home. As we think about the word home, and you go to the Webster's Dictionary, you'll find at least 4 things that the home stands for. Number 1, the home stands for safety. The home stands for safety. The home is a refuge. The home should be a place where there is unity. There's love. There is safety. Alan, I remember growing up, and I was kind of a spooky little kid. I mean, I was afraid of a lot of things. I remember starting to school, and I got to school, and I didn't like it too good. I remember coming home the first day of school, and that night before we went to bed, I told Mom, I said, "Hey, Mom," I said, "how about having Raj," that's my older brother, I said, "have him to go to my class in the morning and get my pencil box and bring it home because I ain't going back." Oh, she said, "Yeah, you are." But I love the safety of home. I loved being with Mom and Dad and with family. And Emily, I felt real safe there. I didn't feel like anything could bother me if I was in the safety of our home. And I'll be eternally grateful for the home that I was raised in and brought up in. We didn't have everything, but bless God, we had safety in our home. I remember when my dad wasn't saved, but I'll tell you one thing, he's always a good dad. I mean, I felt safe. If I was with him, I felt safe. Our homes today, I'm afraid, are not that way too much. Little children are abused in our homes today. They're afraid, a lot of them, to even have to leave schools and go back home. Lady, the other day, we seen on the news that they had arrested her. She had a 7-month-old baby that she said another child at daycare had hit him in the head with an iron pipe, And come to find out, she had hit him in the head with a ball bat. God help us in the world we live in today. We have parents that need to be raised instead of kids. The safety of the home. I have no reason to believe anything otherwise that this young man in the gospel account of Luke here had a safe home. Home represents safety. It also represents security. Secure in the fact that we can go home and be safe. Dave, I don't ever remember going to bed. It don't matter if it was storming, no matter what was going on. I knew that Mom and Dad was there and that I had security in that house. Nobody was going to come and bother me because of the home that they had established. But then also not only security in the home, but there's also comfort. There's comfort in the home. I remember when I went to work at Armco, there was a bunch of guys there at work that I became pretty good friends with, and one of them lived out at Olive Hill, Kentucky, and another one lived at Blaine, and they was driving a long way to work, and they asked me, Denny, they said, how far do you drive? I said, well, it takes me about 20 minutes or something to get to work. And they said, we got an idea. And I said, what is it? They said, let's get an apartment over here in Ashland, and that way we'll be close to work. And I said, you got to be crazy. They said, why? I said, do you think that I'm going to leave a place of comfort to come and live with you nuts? Man, I get all the good cooking I want. I get my lunch packed. And I mean, Mom packed me a kind of lunch like Cheryl did after we got married. And she didn't eat up my sandwiches, Haley, before she sent them either. Packed me a lunch, guys that sat there and watched me eat, you know. And I said, when I go to bed, I get to crawl in clean sheets. I go to my closet, and upstairs we had a big walk-in closet. We slept, two of us in one end, the boys, and two in the other end. But we had a big walk-in closet between with shelves in there. And I said, anytime I need a clean pair of pants or a clean shirt or underwear or whatever, I just walk in there and Mom's got them folded on my shelf. I said, I ain't living with you guys. There was comfort there. Comfort in knowing that was home to me. That's the way a home should be. But then also there's companionship. Don't you love that? And a man's always looking for companionship. Well, when Cheryl and I got married before my dad passed away, brother, at Christmas time and on holidays, he had to have every one of us kids home. Now, it wasn't no, if you can get here, come. Brother, it was you better be here. And I remember, I think the last time before he died, had 8 children, and Cheryl and I went up there on Christmas Eve. There was 65 of us in that house. Talk about close companionship. That's what a home should be. A home should be something that brother, we're losing out on. Satan is destroying our homes today. Sin is coming in to our house. We need to establish some good, godly homes today. What's happening to us? We're losing them somewhere along the way. This young man was home. I have no reason to doubt that he had a good home. But that brings me to the next point of the message. He got sick of home. Why would he get sick of it? Well, let me tell you why. For a home to run right, there has to be some rules and regulations. We've raised a society that don't like rules. They don't like no rules today. Evidently, this younger son didn't like some of the things that was going on. Kind of cramped his style. Mark's laughed time after time about I was working and I went and bought me a new Harley Sportster. I come home and told Mom and Dad I bought me a motorcycle. Dad said, where are you going to park it? I said, well, right here on the carport. No, he said, you're going to have to get you another place to live. I said, what? He said, you ain't riding no motorcycle and you ain't aggravating your mom and worrying me and her to death on no motorcycle, so whoever you bought that thing off of, you better go tell them you ain't buying it or find you another place to live. That is so harsh. That's terrible. Maybe it was, but I didn't get killed on no motorcycle. He had some rules. I lived through the hippie age. Long hair, free love, bunch of craziness that's got us, helped get us in the shape we're in today. The only problem was, Marge, I wasn't allowed to be no hippie. Dad had some rules. At one time, at home, my oldest brother was working, I was working, my third brother was working, and we all worked shift work, and Dad was working. He'd tell Mom, get them boys in here this week sometime for dinner. She didn't have to ask why, but she usually would. Why? He'd say, I want to check in with them. I've sat down there before to eat, Denny. He'd say, you need a haircut, boy. I'm talking when they had it down on their shoulders and all that junk. He'd say, when you come back to the table again, have that haircut. My oldest brother jumped up from the table one time, pushed his chair back, and he said, I'm leaving. He said, I'll see you. You know how long he was gone? About 3 hours. It takes some rules to make a home run smoothly. It takes some rules to make a church run the way that it should run. I talked to a man the other day that he said, I don't believe in church government. I said, are you saved? He said, no. I said, ain't none of your business anyway. We need some rules and standards. This fella done decided he don't need none of that. So he said, if I got to live by these rules, I'm leaving. Brings me to the next point. He was gone longer than 3 hours. But he took the portion of goods that fell to him. And the Bible said he went into a far country and wasted his goods with riotous living. But while he was down there, you'll read in verse 14 down through verse 19, he had left because he was sick of home, and when he got down there, he found out he is bad homesick. He's bad homesick, Alan. You know what he done? I believe that his memory was awakened. Oh, he said, The Bible said he went down and joined himself to a farmer of the land, and he found himself out feeding the swine, which was absolutely the lowest job that a Jewish boy could get. I wonder sometimes how low are you going to go before you get homesick. You know how bad it got? There's some farmers here. What's the husk of corn worth? I mean, what good is it? Well, let me tell you, it protects the grain on the corn or wheat or whatever it is until it's ripened. And after that, it ain't no good for nothing. And the Bible said that he would have fain filled his belly with the husk that the swine did eat, and no man gave unto him. Now, the swines could eat the husk, but they were of no food value whatsoever. He's in bad shape. He's homesick. He's homesick. He wants to come home now. He sinned against his father, and he left home thinking, I've got plenty of money, I'm going to make it. I've heard messages time after time, and I've even preached, what will sin do to you? It'll take you farther than you want to go. Hey, you can't play with sin. You can't play with it. It'll get you. It'll absolutely destroy you. Oh, I can handle it. No, you can't. Ain't nobody in history ever been able to handle sin. One of the greatest kings in the Bible, King David, he couldn't handle sin. Cost him 4 of his children. It'll take you farther than you want to go. When he took that journey to the far country, he got down there farther than he wanted to go. He found out when he got down there wallowing with the hogs that he had gone as deep as he could go. How deep are you going to go today? How far are we going to go? How filthy are you going to get? How deep is that sin in your life? They said that, I was reading an account of this the other day, they said that when Ted Bundy was a little boy, how many know who Ted Bundy was? A lot of us older folks do. Ted Bundy was a serial killer. They said that Ted Bundy would torture frogs when he was a little boy. He would torture any kind of animal. Cats, they said he'd absolutely torture cats, burn them up, tie them up and set them on fire, and laugh. I believe somewhere along the line somebody should have picked up on that kid's got a problem. I'm saying that to say this. What we call little sins evolve into bigger sins. You may start looking at light pornography. Well, you can find light pornography anywhere today. Then it gets a little deeper and a little deeper, and finally it gets totally filthy. There's men that it absolutely destroys them because they want to spend all their time looking at that. You can begin to gamble a little, and then win a little, then win a little more, win a little more, and you become addicted, and it'll destroy you. A good friend of mine, I've requested prayer for him, Ron Houston. He's due for a double lung transplant, like Tom had in Columbus. In fact, they had a benefit for him last weekend. Ronnie and his wife Connie always played the bingo. They played bingo all the time. One time they won $20,000. Right there at the bingo hall at Greenup. Most of you know where it is. Somebody said, "Boy, Ronnie, you'll be rich. You won that $20,000. He said, "I'm probably only $200,000 in the hole now." So see, it'll take you farther than you want to go. It'll cost you more than you're willing to pay. It'll cost you your home, cost you your marriage. A lot of times cost you your job, cost you your family. You willing to pay that price? No, I'm not. I wonder what David thought when he pronounced his own sentence and he said, "That man will repay fourfold." After the child by Bathsheba died, don't you imagine King David said, "That's enough, God. That's enough. I can't bear this." But then he lost the second child, and the third, and the fourth. Mike, I believe he said, "Lord, I ain't willing to pay that price." But he did. Where you at today? Are you in a far country? If I was, I want to tell you this, I'd sure be homesick. I've seen folks this week that have stood in these services. They're in a far country. When they going to make a move, preacher? When they get homesick enough. When they get tired of the way they're living and the life that they have made for themselves and come to Jesus Christ. We need to get them homesick and hungry. This boy found himself. You know what the Bible says? When he came to himself, that means he come to his senses. He woke up and he realized the condition that he was in. Here's what he said. I know what I'm going to do. He said, "There's bread enough to spare at my Father's house." He said, "I'm going to go home. And I'm going to say to my Father, I have sinned in thy sight, and I'm no more worthy to be called your son. Please just make me as one of your hard servants." He said, "'Cause there's bread enough to spare at my Father's house." So last of all, he's home again. I don't know how he got there, do you? I suppose he walked. Maybe he hitched a ride somewhere. But I tell you what, down there feeding them hogs, I doubt that he hitched a ride. Orville Sanders got saved. And Orville worked at Southern Wine Store, and they fired him because he was telling everybody not to drink that wine and whiskey because he said, "That'll send you to hell." And the owner said, "Orville, you can't do that. That's my business." He said, "Well, I can't help it." He said, "Then you're fired." So anyway, he got a better job. But he started driving a bus at City Mission. And he had some people that he was picking up that was pretty rank. They smelled pretty rough. He had people riding the bus that complained. He said, "You're going to have to tell them, Orville, you know, that they don't smell good." So he went to Brother Jimmy. Jimmy would tell this, he'll still tell it and just laugh. He said, "Jimmy, what are we going to do?" He said, "You're going to have to do something." He said, "Orville, you're the bus driver. You're going to have to do something." He called me on the phone one night and I was talking to him and he said, "Kenny, I have prayed about this and prayed about this." But he said, "Do you know what?" And I said, "What, Orville?" He said, "They ain't no nice way to tell somebody they stink." I said, "That's right." So I doubt that he caught a ride. I doubt that he caught a ride. We're not told how he got there. But in verse 20 down through verse 24, two things happened here. Number one, he repented. Number two, the Father forgave him. If you're in a far country today, the Father will forgive you. All you got to do is come. Ask him. Come back home. Let's all stand. Alan, would you come to the piano, please?